welcome again to Mekenke, this channel about Tantra, the Kundalini energy and breathing. Today I want to talk about unconditional love because it's a concept that has been very misunderstood. And it's misunderstood because when we stand from our ego, we cannot understand what really unconditional love is. For unconditional love to flow through us, we must put the ego aside. And that's pretty difficult because our ego doesn't want to give the control, doesn't want to surrender. Our ego enjoys and having control. It's part of it, the idea of the ego to say what it is, what is not, to judge, because all this judgment gives cohesion to it, brings up the idea of what it is against everything that it is, because it's a fragmentation, it's a segregation of everything. To understand, why am I an individual? Why am I? And for that to happen, we need to contrast information to relate to everything in a certain way to understand what it is and what is not. And that gives cohesion to the fragmented world. But the idea of unconditional love is not love of the ego. It's not the ego feeling desire or love. It's something more fundamental. And it's actually a force opposite to the ego that our mind can hold. It's part of the same coin, you know? It's just the ego is one side of it and the unconditional love is the other side of it. But when our mind holds unconditional love, it must be empty. It must put the ego aside and all the mind patterns aside for it to be just a channel of that primordial essence that gives life to everything. Because that unconditional love, in a certain way, it's like a life force that is allowing freely everything to exist in the infinity of God expressing in all the ways possible, manifesting in life. And who am I really to say what it is and what is not? I'm nothing. We must celebrate the freedom of the manifestation of reality, whatever it is, as part of our own freedom, because it symbolizes, in a way, our own possibility to own that freedom somehow and to express it and to live it. So we must take a step back and celebrate life and the manifestations of life no matter what. And that's difficult. The egoic mind don't trust this, because everything for the ego is in the terms of the uses of things, like what everything brings to the table for the ego, even good or bad. But this energy of the unity and of unconditional love, that it's the freedom of the infinity expressing, needs that ego to give up, to surrender, to give up control over everything, to give up the judgment of everything. And the problem is that our mind unconsciously is programmed to judge everything, and we're not even thinking about it. It's just a program we have. So to really deprogram this in ourselves requires a lot of time and practice and observation. So that's why we practice Tantra, because Tantra gives us control over our natural mechanisms of our body, of our mind, of our emotions, to transmute all this and be able to transcend these dimensions of ourselves. And also, that's why our vital energy and our Kundalini energy are involved in this, because the Kundalini energy and our vital energy is pushing us, is giving us the energy to transcend. So we with Tantra, we practice the mechanisms to mobilize this energy, even if it wakes up naturally or we work for it to really express itself consciously. Either way, it's the force of the motor that allows the motor to move, so it helps us transcend this dimension of ourselves, but also helps us connect and hold these high states of consciousness. Because at the beginning, when we have, for example, a Kundalini awakening, it not necessarily happens for a long time. It can happen just for seconds or minutes. It might happen for days, but it's something ephemeral. And then we go down. And as quickly as we went up, we go down. So it is very important to understand that obviously when we have a Kundalini awakening, it takes us beyond these normal states of ourselves, these normal states of consciousness that we are used to, and we go pretty up fast. And then we tend to feel we are enlightened just by that. But the truth is, we need to practice this and repeat this a lot over time, because it's not just the sudden transition to one dimension to the other that makes us enlightened. It's the work over time to temperate the mind and the ego and allow us to be free of it in a way that we can connect to the other dimension of ourselves easily without resistance. Because all the ego and the mind pattern that are making a resistance is not allowing us to be a channel, an empty channel of the unity of God, of this unconditional love and compassion that I'm talking about. So both sides are part of the same thing, but we as humans are more hooked to one side, that is the fragmented world, the ego, the idea of the individual. But we can connect to the other side the same way we have a head with a brain. It's something that we cannot escape from it, because we are that. It's what it is. It's not something that we can change. It is what it is, so it is. And the only thing we do is to learn how to anchor to the states and integrate them. It's important to learn how to integrate them, because they're part of the same. It's not just saying that the ego is bad, because that's not the plan, that's not it. When you're saying something is bad, it's the egoic trap. Hating something, it's an egoic trap, you know? The integration of everything is something quite difficult. To have compassion for all the expressions of life and the manifestations of reality takes time to temperate the ego, for it to put aside, and for us really to see the essence beyond all the illusions, to see God in everything. So to work this ego that is so hooked in our lives, because we inherit that, it's something that is normal in this planet. So we learned everything, and that's the way it is. But for really reprogram ourselves, we need to practice Tantra to transmute our mind, our body, our emotions, to work our Kundalini energy, our vital energy, so we can ascend, you know, so we can transcend with this shock mechanisms that we work out. So we can start anchoring to those states beyond the egoic dimensions of our mind. But also we need to be present and observe in a daily basis, in any moment, the manifestation of our individuality, of our ego, and try to bring consciousness to that always, so we can really over time temperate and eventually be able to hook to a new version of ourselves that can connect to one side or the other without resistance. So yeah, anchoring unconditional love takes time, and we don't get suddenly enlightened, because we need to gradually empty ourselves and heal and let things go. It's not something that will just happen one day to another. We might be able to do it with Tantra or a Kundalini awakening that takes us beyond, but the truth is that we go down again. So we have to repeat that. It was just a little step over the long walk that we have to take, doing a lot of steps through the mountains and learning and tempering and letting go. So eventually everything gets to a state where it naturally happens in you. And it's not something you're pushing, it's just something that you become. But after all that process, if you do it, obviously you will be able to see more and more this concept of God in everything, the unity in everything. You are conscious more and more of this as something that is holding all these illusions of reality and fragmentation. And when you see God in everything, there's something very important that you need to understand, that it's the dual attention. The dual attention and unconditional love, it's something intricate. They're both related. Because the dual attention is not just holding attention over the outside and the inside, but also being able to hold at the same time the fragmented world and the unity that's behind it at the same time. So whatever you do, no matter what it is, or who you are relating to, a person, situation, thing, life form, you're always holding this dual attention of seeing the fragmented thing or person or life that you're relating to materially, emotionally, but also holding tangibly the experience of God that is there, speaking to you without the other dimension knowing it. So when you practice this dual attention, you're holding at the same time in the present moment the attention of the fragmented world and the unity that is behind it. that is holding it together. The fragmented world, the illusions of Maya, and God itself in everything. And this is very important, and this is advanced, because it's after you have tempered your mind and your ego, and your mind is just a channel for the primordial essence to flow. And this dual attention is indispensable to understand unconditional love and high states of consciousness, because it's your consciousness being able to hold more and more and more of the expression of the manifestations of this reality. In that sense, you learn to see things clearly. Everything becomes clear and shows to you in a way that as it is, because everything is immanent. So at the same time, seeing God in everything brings a responsibility and a lot of compassion, because when you're holding this dual attention, you also need to work out your compassion, and you can get lost with it. But the truth is that you have to be compassionate with the outside and with the inside. So working with unconditional love as a force, is an energy that's opposite to our ego, involves surrender, involves giving up all that we're holding as something that we think gives us the idea of what we are, the cohesion of what we are, and brings to the table the concept of compassion. We cannot escape the compassion outside and inside. We must have compassion outside and inside. It's part of the same. If someone is just giving oneself too much to the outside in a compassionate way, but is forgetting oneself and forgetting to be compassionate with oneself, to that primordial nature that we are, it's a problem. And we must be compassionate either way. We must be compassionate to nurture ourselves, to eat well, to take a little bit of sun every day, to do our breathing, our daily breathing, to try to heal our mind and be able to give up the things that we are holding that are taking us back emotionally and intellectually, to try to connect in a way to all the things that naturally nurture us and not the things that are toxic for us, because we have inherited a mind and a way of living that is just so arbitrary over these natural things we are, this natural phenomena we are, that all these things we are doing and thinking and holding are just toxic for us. It's just patterns of toxicity. So being compassionate with oneself also involves to respect that natural dimensions of ourselves, the nature of what we are in existence and this manifestation of reality. So when you see God in everything and you feel the freedom of it, expressing in all the ways possible, you cannot escape the idea of compassion, the compassion outside to the world, to all the manifestations that there are, and obviously ourselves, connected to this primordial essence, this primordial energy. So we cannot escape compassion. We grow consciousness over compassion, and we learn to be more and more compassionate, but we cannot escape it when we start seeing it, when we start working unconditional love, when we start working Tantra and our Kundalini energy, because our Kundalini energy naturally takes us up and down, up and down, up and down. And that's the idea, for us to temperate in all the ways possible. That's the temperance we need. That's how our temple gets normalized with the essence, instead of being normalized with what society thinks that should be normal, because it's actually not. Pretty much everything is not normal. And it might feel counterintuitive, but we have a thirst for change, for example, and we are hooked to this idea of common spaces, of common ways of being, and it's a common space that we cannot break down. And when change happens, we just break apart, and we fear and we suffer because we constructed an artificial reality that just break apart when change really comes and takes it all away. But we are connected so deep to change that changing is natural for us, and we can actually enjoy it and live it in a free way where we create our lives changing and creating new versions of ourselves and changing little things of what we are, of our habits, and moving the whole dynamics that we are or that are involved in what we are. So it's very important to hold that unconditional love and that compassion. We need to be empty, to really feel the things as they are. What it is, And this dimension of holding unconditional love is so natural for us, as it is for us to hold ego and to see the fragmented world as we see it materially. But we have to open ourselves to these dimensions. It's not something we believe. It is so tangible as we have a brain and a head. It just is. It's what it is. I mean, you can try not to think about it and say, maybe imagine that we don't have a head or a brain, but it will still be there, okay? And the same happens with seeing God in everything, or unconditional love and ego. So to close up this video, I want to share the idea behind the flute of Krishna, Krishna's flute, because the bamboo gives itself to Krishna for Krishna to create with it whatever he wants. And what he wanted was to create a flute. And this flute, this bansuri, is empty inside for Krishna to create whatever music he wants. So the flute is giving itself to Krishna in its emptiness for it to become the music. But here's the fun part. Krishna is also emptying himself for God to flow through him and play that music. So is the flute being empty for Krishna and Krishna being empty for God? So God at the end is just flowing all over the place, spontaneously in music. And that's the music of God. And that's the beauty of this story, because what Krishna's flute represents is pure, unconditional love. And that happens out of total emptiness and surrender. You cannot hook to unconditional love if you haven't surrendered and if you're not empty, because it's not something of the ego, it's something of infinity itself, of God. And the only thing you have to do is to try to empty yourself and work that out, so that music can play through you as God played through Krishna and Krishna played through the flute. That's pretty much it for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next time. And please try to work this out within you. It's the only thing you need to do. Our world needs this. Try to anchor the unconditional love. Thank you.